Hi, and welcome back to my booktube channel, Kat the Romantic. Today, I'm going to be reviewing Deal with the Devil by Kit Rocha in their Mercenary Librarians series. I'm going to be honest, I picked this book up pretty much on the title and concept alone. Mercenary Librarians is set in a post-apocalyptic future America where the world has been devastated by solar flares. It's kind of this interesting sci-fi apocalypse future. This book follows the main female character of Nina, who's an information broker and kind of a mercenary librarian in this new post-apocalyptic world. Nina and her crew of library mercenaries want to get a hold of a big cache of data with tons and tons of books that were archived before the apocalypse. The male love interest in this story is Knox, who is the disgraced captain of the Silver Devils, a team of mercenaries who have recently broken from their corporate overlords. Due to some pretty serious reasons of their own, Garrett and his crew want to get a hold of Nina. So Garrett and his crew basically lure Nina and her team on this road trip to go find this big cache of information and books. There's this entire deception going on about where exactly they're going and the reasons for why they're going on this road trip. I think that the plot does a really good job of adding tension to the narrative and adding a bunch of kind of fun and interesting plot points along the way that allow for some good character moments and development. A lot of the interesting interactions in this book come about because both of these groups are very much in it for themselves and are on this journey for their own motives, especially when in this post-apocalyptic world, someone is as likely to stab you in the back as they are to help you. I love the post-apocalyptic setting, and I think it's really interesting, especially with all of the kind of insidious corporations that kind of run this world. This book is also a pretty steamy romance novel, so it has kind of this mix of a sci-fi road trip as well as some fun romantic dynamics going on here. I would put this book as about a 3.5 or 4 on the steaminess level. This book involves plenty of simmering tension and some sex scenes, and all of it is really, really great. There's a lot of things that I really enjoyed about this book. For one, I really enjoyed Nina as our female protagonist, and I also really enjoyed Captain Knox as the male love interest. Both of them are pretty complicated characters. They have their own pasts and histories that in many ways kind of mirror one another's. I also really appreciate that Nina as the female protagonist was given a lot of history and emotional depth. I find that with a lot of these books, a lot of the times the men get all of the intriguing character development. But in this case, I thought that Nina's backstory was really, really fascinating, and her crew were just so badass. I love the dynamic between all of the members of Nina's crew and the fun banter they have going on. There's Maya, who's kind of the least aggressive of the bunch, but still is not afraid to vigorously stab people with a fork. Everyone needs a friend that would stab a fork into a mercenary for them. And then there's Danny, who is just homicidal in the best way possible. Like, honestly, if I got stuck in a post-apocalyptic nightmare like Nina and her crew did, I want Maya and Danny as my friends. They're so much fun, and I just absolutely love the dynamic and the concept. I also really enjoyed the kind of dynamic that Captain Knox has with his crew, especially since this book goes into some of the things that both of these groups have been through together and what they've survived together. And I really actually enjoyed all of the characters and would love to know more about them. There was some absolutely delicious tension to this book, especially around the relationship between Nina and Knox, and especially since Knox was very much lying to Nina. But I absolutely love the slow softening of these characters and how they quickly become very important to one another. But I also really like how this whole conflict ends up being resolved. About 3/4 of the way through, there's a big revelation and twist where all of the tension gets paid off. But there's also a considerable portion of this book left for the characters to kind of sort out the emotional fallout of the entire thing. And I thought that a good amount of time was dedicated to the latter portion of this book. All that being said, there were some parts of this book's plot that were a little bit predictable or could have been expanded upon a little bit more. One thing I would have liked to see a little bit more of in this book is more of these characters kind of being the librarians. We get to see a lot of the mercenary side, but not quite as much of the librarian side in this one. And overall, it wasn't a book that I was head over heels in love with. For that reason, I'm going to give this book a 4 out of 5 stars rating. Overall, I thought that this book was a lot of fun. It delivered on the kind of fun post-apocalyptic future. It delivered on the romance and the steaminess. This book had so many tropes that I am absolute trash for. I just altogether really enjoy the whole mercenary dynamic. I love seeing some like badass women. I love the dynamic of kind of this more jaded character being slowly won over by a bit more of an idealistic character. I love the enemies to lovers vibe that's going on here, and I just really enjoyed it. I thought that this book was really solid and really accomplished what it intended to accomplish. And I'd love to see more books in this series. So if this book seems like it's up your alley, I really recommend that you check it out. If you liked my review, please leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and let me know what you thought of this book. I could really use whatever engagement you offer because I'm such a small booktuber at this point. That's all for now.